Have you ever noticed how everyone seems to just repeat the exact same accepted truths about the housing market?
Oh, absolutely. All the time.
Yeah, and then they turn out to be spectacularly wrong when you actually, pull back the curtain, you hear it at dinner parties, or you read it in the financial headlines, and everyone just kind of nods along.
Right. It becomes this unquestioned conventional wisdom.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Take the legendary summer slowdown. I mean, every June, sellers panic and they pull their listings because supposedly everyone is on vacation.
Which is a very persistent narrative.
It really is. But today, we're going on a deep dive into a short, frankly brilliant real estate update
Mm.
that proves buyers aren't actually gone in July, they're just hiding.
Yeah. And the sellers who actually understand this dynamic are making an absolute killing right now.
Totally. So we got our hands on this brief update, and it's titled Unexpected Summer Real Estate Update. 5 Sarasota home sales that caught everyone off guard.
It's a great title.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because what's happening in Florida right now completely dismantles that conventional wisdom, and it exposes a massive trap that most of us fall into when we look at data.
It really is a fascinating piece of text. And, while the author focuses on a specific 30-day window in the Sarasota market, we aren't just talking about Florida real estate today.
Right, this goes way beyond that.
Exactly. This update is fundamentally a masterclass in behavioral psychology and really data interpretation. It exposes how standard statistical models completely break down when consumer behavior shifts.
Yeah, and it reveals how savvy professionals are using that breakdown to their advantage.
Yeah.
So let's start with the friction here.
Okay, let's do it.
The baseline assumption this author is confronting is that that universal rule that kicks in the moment the calendar hits June, which is summer is slow.
Right, the dreaded summer slowdown.
Yeah. And the update lays out the standard reasoning perfectly. I mean, buyers are traveling, families are completely preoccupied with getting the kids to summer camp or they're going to the beach.
And so sellers just throw their hands up.
Exactly. They say, I'm going to wait until after Labor Day when people are actually paying attention. Now, the author does admit there is a grain of truth here.
Sure, there's always a little truth in these myths.
Yeah. Homes are actually taking longer to sell year over year right now, and buyers have absolutely become more selective. But I have a really hard time buying into the psychology that people just stop shopping entirely.
Well, because they don't. I mean, the desire doesn't just evaporate because the temperature goes up.
Right. Think about how people actually operate today. If they're sitting on the beach under an umbrella, they aren't disconnected from the world.
No, they all have their phones in their hands.
Exactly. They're scrolling Zillow or Redfin on their phones between chapters of a book.
Yeah.
So assuming buyers just vanish in July, it feels exactly like assuming restaurants are completely empty all summer because people are at the pool.
Oh, that's a really good analogy.
Thanks. I mean, it ignores the reality that people still need to eat. They just might be, significantly pickier about where they decide to eat if they have to leave their air-conditioned house to go do it.
That's a highly accurate way to frame it. And what's fascinating here is the underlying mechanism of that slowdown. It is, to a large extent, a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Wait, how so? Like, driven by herd mentality?
Exactly. Think about the supply side of the equation. You have sellers who blindly believe the market is dead, so they hold off on listing their homes.
Right, so inventory drops.
Yes. And you have real estate agents who believe the buyers are gone, so they don't market as aggressively. As a direct result of all that, the inventory of prime, exciting homes drops significantly.
Ah, I see where this is going.
Yeah, so those highly selective buyers, the ones scrolling on the beach, they log on, they don't see anything compelling, and they just close the app.
Wow, so the market data eventually shows a slowdown, and the herd says, look, summer is dead.
Precisely. They manufactured the very drought they were so afraid of.
Which creates a massive gaping opportunity for anyone who doesn't follow the herd. And that brings us to the core of this update, which is this Sarasota anomaly.
Right, the 5 properties.
Yeah, right in the middle of this supposedly sluggish, dead market over the last 30 days, the author highlights 5 specific home sales that totally defied the narrative.
They stood out for all the right reasons.
And here's where it gets really interesting. There's one detail in the text that I just love. The author mentions one property in particular that closed at a price so shockingly high, it literally made them stop and double-check their own numbers.
That really caught my attention, too.
Right. Now, we don't get the exact raw prices in this update, and we'll get into exactly why the author withheld them later, because honestly, that is a genius move.
It's brilliant marketing.
It is. But just the mere existence of a double-take premium price in a dead market, it totally shatters the rule.
It proves that the capital is absolutely still there. The liquidity hasn't dried up at all.
Exactly. The audience hasn't left the building. It's like walking into a massive shopping mall on a Tuesday afternoon.
Okay, paint the picture for me.
Well, the food court is empty. The corridors are empty, but then you turn the corner and there is a massive line out the door for one specific high-end pop-up shop.
Right, so the consumer isn't dead.
No. Their standards have just intensely consolidated onto one exceptional thing.
Yes, the consolidation of demand, that's the perfect term for it. And the source text breaks down exactly what constitutes that exceptional thing.
Right, the trifecta.
Exactly. The author points out that even in a highly selective market, you can generate these outlier results, but it requires hitting 3 specific things. The home must be priced correctly, presented well, and positioned strategically.
Okay, if you miss even one of those, what happens?
You're invisible. You are completely invisible to that selective buyer.
Okay, I want to push on that trifecta a bit, because 2 of those things make complete intuitive sense to me, priced correctly, obviously.
Right, no one wants to overpay.
And presented well, sure. Clean the house, take professional photos, declutter the kitchen counters. But positioned strategically sounds like generic marketing. Speak to me.
I can see why you'd say that.
Like, what does that actually look like in the physical reality of selling a house? How is positioning different from presentation?
It's a really critical distinction, actually. Presentation is passive. It's basically just making sure the home looks beautiful when someone looks at it.
Okay, passive. Got it.
But positioning is active. It is entirely about the narrative and the psychology of your target demographic. When the author talks about strategic positioning, they mean identifying exactly who the buyer of this specific property is.
Ah, okay. So it's about tailoring the message.
Yes, tailoring every single piece of copy and marketing directly to their specific pain points.
Give me a concrete example of that so I can wrap my head around it.
Sure. Let's say you have a 3-bedroom house. Passive presentation is just putting a nice desk in that 3rd bedroom and calling it a den on the listing.
Which is what everyone does.
Right. But active strategic positioning is looking at the macro data, realizing that high-income, out-of-state tech workers are flooding into Florida to work remotely.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so you specifically market that 3rd bedroom as a turnkey, dual-monitor executive home office. You highlight the gigabit fiber internet connection right in the listing description.
Wow. Okay, so you are no longer just selling a structure.
Exactly. You are positioning the asset as the exact solution to a highly specific buyer's lifestyle problem. When buyers are being as hyper-selective as the text says they are right now, you cannot just throw a listing on the MLS and hope the algorithm does the heavy lifting.
You have to actually intercept the buyer's internal monologue.
That's exactly it.
That makes total sense. You're essentially aiming a sniper rifle instead of a shotgun.
Very well put.
And when you hit all 3, price, presentation, positioning, you trigger that consolidation of demand, which results in that double take sale price we talked about earlier.
Which is the dream scenario.
It is. But that reality forces a really uncomfortable conversation about everything else sitting on the market. I mean, if these outliers are succeeding wildly, why is everyone else sitting around complaining?
Well, this leads to what I think is the most profound insight in the entire text.
Yeah, the author argues that we really need to stop talking about the market as a singular entity. The housing market isn't just leaning buyer or leaning seller anymore.
No, it is actively bifurcating.
Right. It's splitting into 2 completely distinct realities that exist simultaneously in the exact same zip code.
And honestly, the bifurcation of the market is arguably the most dangerous economic dynamic for an uninformed consumer to navigate, precisely because it is so heavily disguised.
It's a total split. I mean, the text lays it out as Market A and Market B.
Right.
Market A consists of the homes that totally nailed the trifecta. They are updated, strategically positioned, and priced based on current reality. And according to the author, these homes are not experiencing a summer slowdown at all.
Not even a little bit.
They're attracting strong, qualified buyers and moving fast. Then, literally one street over,
Yeah.
you have Market B.
The ones that miss the mark.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The seller got a little greedy with the price, or maybe they didn't bother to fix the presentation. And the update notes exactly the life cycle of a Market B home.
It's pretty grim.
Yeah, they sit, they get ignored, they accumulate these agonizing price reductions, and they ultimately close for far less than they would have if the seller had just been realistic on day one.
It is a brutal cycle of depreciation.
It really reminds me of the used car market right now.
Oh, how so?
Well, if you have two identical models of a car on a lot, and one is pristine, fully detailed, and priced fairly, it's going to sell before lunch.
Without a doubt.
But the other car is the exact same year and model. But it's dusty, the tires are bald, there's a cracked taillight, and the dealer slapped a premium tag on it, just hoping someone would be desperate enough to overpay.
Yeah, that car's going to sit there and rot for 6 months.
Exactly. But here's the thing I keep getting stuck on. Isn't it just fundamental human nature for every single seller whose house belongs in Market B to be utterly convinced they belong in Market A?
Always. Behavioral economics calls this the endowment effect.
The endowment effect.
Yeah, people intrinsically overvalue an asset simply because they possess it. They look past the cracked taillight or the outdated 1990s kitchen cabinets because they raised their kids in that kitchen.
Oh, right. They have emotional equity in the space.
Precisely. But the market has absolutely zero emotional equity in your home, and this is where we have to look closely at the mechanism driving the buyer's behavior in Market B. The buyers aren't just passing on these homes.
Right.
They are actively punishing the sellers.
Wait, punishing them? That implies a level of, vindictiveness.
Yeah.
Are you saying buyers are intentionally trying to hurt sellers?
I'm not intentionally, no.
Or is it just that buyers literally don't have the excess cash to fix the outdated kitchen because mortgage rates are hovering around 7%?
It's the latter, but the result feels like punishment to the seller. When the macroeconomic environment shifts, like when the cost of borrowing capital doubles, the buyer's ability to be forgiving completely evaporates.
That makes sense. Everything is just tighter.
Exactly. 5 years ago, a buyer might look at a flawed home and say, well, the money is cheap, my monthly payment is low, I'll take a weekend and paint the cabinets myself.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
But today, that same buyer is stretching their debt-to-income ratio to the absolute maximum just to get in the door. They do not have $50,000 in liquidity left over to fix your deferred maintenance.
Wow, yeah. So they have zero tolerance.
None. So when they see a Market B home that needs work but is priced like a Market A home, they don't just negotiate down the cost of the repair. They penalize the home for the risk and the hassle.
They demand a disproportionate discount.
Exactly. That is the underlying mechanism that traps a seller in Market B. The high cost of capital basically removed the buyer's grace.
And that leads to what we might call the death of the comp. I mean, for decades, real estate has relied on comparable sales.
It's the foundation of the industry.
Right. You look at what your neighbor's house sold for, and you assume yours is worth roughly the same. But if Market A and Market B are entirely divorced from one another, your neighbor's pristine, strategically positioned home is no longer a valid benchmark for your poorly presented home.
Even if they share the exact same floor plan?
Exactly. The correlation breaks. And that structural break in the market leads directly to the author's most urgent warning regarding how we interpret data.
Yes, the danger of the math.
So what does this all mean? The text issues this massive red flag about standard housing reports. The author states that looking only at average days on the market or median prices does not tell a full story anymore.
Because of that bifurcation.
Right, because the market is split into Market A and Market B. The details are the only things that matter.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at this and it honestly feels a bit counterintuitive to me.
How so?
I mean, aren't medians specifically utilized in statistics precisely to cut out the noise? Like if you have crazy highs and crazy lows, a median is supposed to give you a highly accurate, reliable middle ground. Why is a median suddenly a dangerous metric?
Because you are assuming a standard distribution of data. Medians and averages are highly reliable when a market operates naturally.
Meaning what? Yeah.
Meaning the vast majority of the activity happens in the middle, with just a few outliers on the high end and a few on the low end.
Right, your standard bell curve.
Exactly. But when a market bifurcates entirely, that bell curve inverts into a U-shape.
Ah, an inverted curve.
Yes. You suddenly have a massive volume of transactions happening at the extreme high end, those Market A homes selling in 3 days for a premium, and a massive volume of activity at the extreme low end.
The Market B homes languishing for 90 days and selling at deep discounts.
Exactly.
And the middle.
The middle hollows out completely. There is practically zero transaction volume in the middle. So when you take those two massive extremes and you average them together, the math spits out a number that represents a perfectly average, middle-of-the-road home.
But that home is a ghost.
Precisely. It literally does not exist in the physical reality of the market.
Wow. Okay, I need an analogy for this to make sure I'm wrapping my head around it.
Go for it.
It's like trying to figure out the average price of a shirt in a shopping mall. But the only two stores left open in the entire mall are a high-end Gucci boutique and a Dollar General.
Okay, I like where this is going.
So the statistician runs the math and says, great news, the average price of a shirt in this mall is $250. But if you walk into that mall with exactly $250 in your pocket, you literally cannot buy a shirt.
It's cat.
You are either $500 short for the Gucci shirt, or you are $240 over budget for the Dollar General shirt. The average number is mathematically correct, but practically useless.
That is a brilliant way to conceptualize it. The math is accurate, but the application of the math is fatal.
It really is.
Because if you are a consumer making a massive financial decision based on that $250 phantom average, you are flying completely blind.
Yeah, if you price your Market A home at the median, you're leaving tens of thousands of dollars on the table.
And if you price your Market B home at the median, it will sit unsold for months because you are vastly overpriced relative to its condition. Relying on averages in a bifurcated market practically guarantees failure.
Which makes the author of this update incredibly savvy because they clearly understand this disconnect. And they use it to execute one of the most masterful hooks I have seen in a long time at the end of this text.
The tactical execution at the end is really something to study.
Let's break down what they actually did here.
Yeah.
The author spends the entire update teasing these 5 surprising Sarasota sales.
Building up the intrigue.
Right. They talk about the double-take prices, the strategic positioning, and the reality of Market A. They systematically dismantle the reader's reliance on those useless average statistics. But they never actually give you the raw data.
No, they hold it back.
The addresses and the closing prices aren't in the text. Instead, they pivot at the very end and say, I recently put together a short breakdown of these 5 surprising sales, the prices, and my perspective on exactly what made buyers willing to pay them.
And then the trap snaps shut.
Yes. If you want the list, if you want to know what this means for the value of your own home, you have to reply to them with the word list, and they will personally send it to you.
It is lead generation disguised as market analysis, and it works flawlessly because it operates on the psychological principle of an information gap.
An information gap.
Yeah. By explaining the mechanism of Market A, but withholding the specific proof, the author creates an itch the reader desperately needs to scratch.
You can't just passively consume this update and close your laptop.
No. If you want the payoff, if you want to see the literal proof that defies the summer is slow myth, you have to raise your hand. You must transition from being a passive observer of the market into an active participant.
And the genius of it is that nobody wants to be the sucker relying on the phantom median.
Of course not.
Once the author convinces you that the average data is a lie, you become desperate for the specific details. You have to see the outliers to understand the real game being played.
Exactly.
And suddenly, by simply asking people to reply with one word, the author doesn't just have an audience reading an update. They have a curated list of highly engaged, intensely curious property owners who are actively questioning the current value of their assets.
That is exactly how you build a pipeline in a so-called slow summer.
It's amazing. It completely redefines who has the power in the transaction.
The author isn't chasing clients anymore. The clients are requesting access to the author's proprietary insight.
So let's bring it all home for you, the listener. What is the ultimate takeaway here?
There are quite a few.
Yeah, I mean, whether you are prepping to sell a piece of real estate, evaluating a potential business acquisition, or honestly, even if you are just trying to be a smarter consumer of the nightly news, you have to train your brain to look aggressively past the averages.
You really do. The conventional wisdom that everyone parrots, like the summer is slow narrative, is almost always a lagging indicator.
It's yesterday's news. The details, the outliers, the anomalies, that is where the actual truth lives.
Absolutely.
Understanding this two markets dynamic, realizing that things are often violently bifurcating while the media comfortably reports on a fictional middle ground, well, that is the insight that's going to keep you from making poorly timed, disastrously ill-informed decisions.
I couldn't agree more. The danger of the fictional middle is everywhere once you know how to spot the inverted bell curve. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it raises a rather urgent question.
I know you've got something profound. Let's hear it.
Well, if a split real estate market renders average prices completely useless, what other major life decisions are we currently making based on median data that completely misrepresents reality?
Oh, wow.
Think about average starting salaries in a rapidly changing tech industry, or the average lifespan of a modern startup. How many averages are you trusting blindly right now that might just be a mathematical illusion hiding a totally split reality?
Yeah, that is something to chew on. Next time someone tells you summer is slow or quotes you the average of absolutely anything, just remember that deserted shopping mall and ask yourself what's actually selling at the pop-up shop.